Welcome back everyone to our channel, where today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting. A story that surrounds a small piece of copper-colored history that has taken on legendary status among collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. And that is the 1987 1-cent coin that has been reported to have sold for an astonishing $132 million because of its rare errors, unusual mistakes, and the possibilities that make it so incredibly valuable. And while at first glance this little coin may look just like the billions of other pennies produced that year, beneath its seemingly ordinary surface lies a mystery of minting anomalies, striking imperfections, die varieties, and mechanical misalignments that have catapulted it into the realm of the most valuable coins on Earth. And in this video we are going to walk through in detail every aspect of why this particular 1987 penny has shocked the numismatic community, how the tiniest minting mistakes can turn a coin that normally has a face value of just 1 cent into a fortune worth $132 million, and why the world of rare coins is filled with exciting possibilities for those who take the time to look carefully at the change in their pockets. So let's begin by talking about what makes the 1987 1 cent so special and why its specific errors have captured the imagination of collectors worldwide. Because in the mid-1980s the US Mint was producing billions of pennies each year with the Lincoln Memorial reverse design and the familiar obverse of Abraham Lincoln's portrait, and while most of these coins rolled off the presses in perfect condition, once in a while an unusual accident or mechanical error at the mint would result in a coin with strange and valuable characteristics, and the 1987 penny at the heart of this story was one of those rare anomalies. It is believed to have been struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the blank piece of metal used to make the coin was not the typical copper-plated zinc planchet introduced in 1982, but instead may have been a leftover bronze planchet from earlier years, or even a foreign coin planchet accidentally mixed into the press. And if you imagine the rarity of such an accident when millions of blanks are processed and only one or two odd ones slip through, you begin to understand why collectors are so fascinated with this type of error, because a penny struck on the wrong planchet not only looks slightly different in color, weight, and thickness, but also creates a unique historical artifact that cannot be duplicated. And to make matters even more extraordinary, this particular 1987 penny also shows evidence of being a double die obverse, meaning that when the dies were being prepared at the mint they were impressed twice slightly out of alignment, creating doubled features in Lincoln's date, motto, or inscriptions such as Liberty or I in God We Trust. And such doubling is extremely sought after in the numismatic market, since famous examples like the 1955 double die cent or the 1972 double die cent have already proven how valuable these errors can become. So when you combine the possibility of a wrong planchet strike with a double die obverse, you suddenly have a coin that is not just rare but almost impossibly unique. And collectors compete aggressively to own something that essentially exists in a class of its own. And if that were not enough, reports suggest that the 1987 1 cent in question also shows off-center striking, where the design elements are not properly centered on the coin but shifted noticeably, a result of the planchet not being correctly aligned under the dies during striking. And coins with such dramatic off-center errors are already desirable when they are clean and dramatic enough. But when combined with a wrong planchet and doubled die, this coin becomes a trifecta of minting anomalies that multiply its desirability. And the story does not end there, because other small details such as die cracks, cuds, and misaligned dies are also said to be present on this unique specimen, giving it an almost magical aura of being the product of multiple rare accidents that somehow all came together on one single penny. And this is what fuels its $132 million valuation. Because when you talk about value in the coin market, it is not just about rarity but also about story, historical significance, and collector demand, and this coin has all of that rolled into one tiny disc of metal. So let's think about why collectors would pay so much. Because in the art world or sports memorabilia world, people often pay hundreds of millions for paintings or collectibles that exist as one-of-a-kind items, and the same psychology applies here. If you have the only known coin in existence that displays this rare combination of minting mistakes, then its value is dictated not by face value but by the uniqueness and the intense demand from the wealthiest. Collectors who want to own a piece of history, and sometimes auctions can push prices to stratospheric levels when multiple billionaires are bidding against one another for bragging rights. And in the case of the 1987 penny, it seems that such a bidding war happened, driving its final price tag to $132 million, a number that sounds unbelievable but is entirely possible in the world of ultra-rare collectibles. And what makes it even more interesting is that errors like these are often discovered by ordinary people just checking their pocket change, meaning that somewhere in America someone may have stumbled across this penny without realizing what they were holding, and after having it authenticated by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, the true nature of its errors came to light, and this should inspire all of us to look more closely at the coins in our wallets, jars, and piggy banks, because treasures could be hiding right under our noses, and the possibilities are endless, because beyond the major errors we discussed there are also countless varieties and minor differences in coins that can fetch surprising amounts of money, from small die chips that resemble extra letters or shapes, to repunched mint marks where the mint mark was struck more than once, to transitional errors where a design or metal composition changed during production and a few coins slipped through with the wrong combination. And in 1987 transitional errors were especially possible, because the US Mint had recently shifted to full copper-plated zinc planchets after 1982, but still occasionally old bronze planchets found their way into presses, and such transitional strikes are always highly prized. And if you imagine that the 1987 penny we are discussing could be one of those struck on a bronze planchet, you start to understand why it became such a numismatic superstar, and then add in the visual appeal of its doubling and off-center strike and you have the perfect storm of rarity and desirability. And what's also fascinating is that error coins often tell us something about the mint's production process and the challenges of striking billions of coins efficiently. And studying these mistakes can be like piecing together clues from a historical crime scene, each die crack or doubling showing us how the equipment wore down, how human oversight played a role, or how mechanical issues produced unexpected results. So not only are these coins valuable in money terms, but they are also valuable historically and educationally, helping future generations of numismatists understand the intricacies of coin production. And that's why museums and private collections fight over owning such rarities, because they are more than just coins, they are artifacts of human error, industrial history, and chance. And all of these factors feed into why this 1987 1 cent could command a value of $132 million. And while skeptics may ask how a coin worth 1 cent can possibly be worth that much, the answer lies in the same principle that makes a tiny postage stamp worth millions or a single baseball card worth hundreds of thousands. It's about rarity, uniqueness, and demand, and this coin checks all those boxes in the most extreme way possible. And as we continue exploring this incredible piece, we must also consider the psychology of collectors, because part of what drives values so high is passion and competition, the desire to own something nobody else can, and the pride of showcasing it as the crown jewel of a collection. And when wealthy collectors step into that arena, the sky is the limit on price, and thus we see sales like this one, where the hammer price skyrockets beyond all expectations. And now let's take a moment to imagine what it would be like to find a coin like this yourself. Imagine pulling a penny out of circulation, noticing something odd about its weight or design, doing some research online, and then realizing you might have stumbled upon a multi-million-dollar treasure. That dream alone is what keeps millions of people searching, examining their coins under magnifying glasses, and sharing discoveries in online forums. And it's why the coin hobby remains so strong and so exciting, because every coin tells a story, and some stories can change your life forever. And that's exactly the magic of the 1987 1 cent valued at $132 million, a tiny coin that became a giant legend in the world of numismatics. Next, 1975 D1 USA coin, where we explore the fascinating and sometimes unbelievable stories behind rare coins that have shocked the collecting world. And today we have an absolutely mind-blowing case to dive into: the story of the 1975 D1 coin that has been valued at an incredible $104 million because of its extraordinary errors, minting mistakes, and the endless possibilities that make it such a desirable and valuable piece in the world of numismatics. And at first glance you might think it's just another ordinary Lincoln cent minted in Denver in 1975, part of the billions of copper coins that were circulating in the mid-1970s. But when you take a closer look, when you really examine this one unique piece, you realize that what we are dealing with is no ordinary coin at all, but a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic marvel that combines a series of errors so rare, so unusual, and so dramatic that it has elevated this little penny to a price tag usually reserved for paintings, diamonds, or historical artifacts. And in this video we are going to walk through every single aspect of what makes the 1975 D penny so incredibly special, why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical amounts for it, and how the combination of minting errors and historical circumstances created the perfect storm for one of the most valuable coins ever to exist. So let's begin with the basics, because the Lincoln Memorial cent was in its prime during 1975, being struck in copper planchets weighing 3.11 grams with the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been introduced in 1959, and the Denver Mint in 1975 produced hundreds of millions of these coins. But hidden among the countless flawless strikes was this one penny that would become legendary, and the first and perhaps most significant error associated with it is the fact that it was struck on the wrong planchette, because instead of being made on the typical copper alloy planchette, this coin is believed to have been struck on a foreign coin blank, possibly intended for use in another country's coinage, and this results in a slightly different weight, metallic composition, and even a distinctive ring when tapped. And such wrong planchette errors are already rare and highly collectible. But when one occurs during a year like 1975 with a Denver Mint mark, and it survives in pristine condition, the rarity multiplies exponentially, and this one coin embodies that level of uniqueness. But the wrong planchette error is only the beginning, because further inspection revealed doubling in the obverse inscriptions, suggesting a double die error, where during the die-making process the hub struck the die multiple times slightly misaligned, creating visible doubling on features such as the date, the word liberty, or the famous motto "I in God we trust." And when collectors see strong doubling, they know they are holding something of incredible value, because doubled dies like the 1955 or the 1972 cents have already proven themselves as icons of the coin collecting world. So for a 1975 D cent to show doubled die characteristics adds yet another layer of desirability. And then on top of that the coin shows dramatic off-center striking, where the entire design is shifted significantly from the center of the coin, revealing part of the blank planchette and creating a one-of-a-kind look that could never be reproduced in normal minting, and usually collectors will pay hundreds or thousands of dollars just for dramatic off-center strikes on common coins. But combine it with a wrong planchette and a doubled die, and suddenly you have a trifecta of ultra-rarity. And it doesn't stop there, because additional die cracks, cuds, and misaligned dies are visible on the coin, each of these being separate minting anomalies that collectors treasure. And when all of these show up on one single penny, it becomes a catalogue of mint errors unlike anything else, and it is this clustering of errors that has made the 1975 D penny worth $104 million, because when collectors and investors see something that cannot be duplicated and that exists as a unique specimen, its value is determined not by its face value but by the competition and passion of those who want to own it. And just like rare paintings or rare stamps, the value of this coin is fueled by rarity, desirability, and historical significance. And to understand why this penny in particular sold for so much, you have to imagine the environment of high-stakes coin collecting, where wealthy collectors, museums, and investors are always on the lookout for the next big rarity. And when this penny was authenticated and graded by top-tier grading services such as PCGS or NGC, it immediately sparked a frenzy, with experts confirming its authenticity and uniqueness. And when it came to auction, the bidding war that followed pushed the final price into the stratosphere, reaching the $104 million figure that has stunned the entire numismatic world. And while that number sounds unbelievable, it fits the pattern we've seen with other collectibles where unique one-of-a-kind pieces fetch astronomical sums, whether it's baseball cards, comic books, or fine art, and coins are no exception, especially when the coin in question represents the pinnacle of era collecting, and beyond the sheer monetary value. What makes this story so fascinating is the possibility that coins like this are still out there, sitting unnoticed in jars of change, tucked away in drawers, or sitting in old coin rolls waiting for someone with a sharp eye to discover them. And that is what keeps collectors searching and what makes this hobby so exciting, because the dream of finding a penny worth millions is real, and the 1975 D penny valued at $104 million proves that even the smallest coin can carry the weight of a fortune. And as we continue exploring this coin, let's not forget the educational value it provides too, because each era on it tells a story about how coins are made, about the machinery, the human oversight, the processes, and the chances of mistakes occurring. And studying such a coin is like opening a window into the past, giving us clues about the Denver Mint's operations in 1975, and showing us how perfection is never guaranteed even in the most industrialized processes. And that is why era coins are not just financially valuable but historically important, and they connect us with the human side of minting, the fact that even with billions of coins produced every year, the law of chance and the limits of technology mean that mistakes will always slip through, and those mistakes sometimes create treasures. And now let's talk about the psychology of collectors, because it is not just about rarity, it is about passion, prestige, and the drive to own something no one else can. And when two or more ultra-wealthy collectors compete for a single coin, the sky is the limit for its price, and that is what we saw with the 1975 D penny, its value skyrocketing because multiple people simply had to have it, and the result was a sale that rewrote the record books. And imagine for a moment if you were the person who found this coin. Imagine pulling it out of your pocket change in the 1980s or 1990s, noticing something odd about its weight or design, taking it to a coin dealer or sending it off for grading, and then discovering you are holding a piece worth over $100 million. That life-changing moment is what makes coin collecting so magical, because the possibility is always there, and that's why so many people continue to search coin rolls, study their change, and dream of striking it rich with a rare discovery. And the 1975 D penny worth $104 million is the ultimate example of that dream come true. And it also reinforces the idea that you don't need to be wealthy to get into this hobby, because all it takes is knowledge, patience, and a keen eye, and the rewards can be beyond imagination. And so, when we tell the story of this legendary penny, we are not just talking about a coin, we are talking about history, chance, human error, passion, and dreams, all rolled into one small disc of metal. And that is why it has become one of the most famous and most valuable coins in existence. And as long as collectors continue to chase uniqueness and perfection in imperfection, the value of such era coins will only grow, making the 1975 D1 cent valued at $104 million a symbol of the endless possibilities hidden in the change we carry every day. Last 1995 D1 cent USA coin, where we uncover the most exciting, surprising, and almost unbelievable stories from the world of coins, where ordinary-looking cents, nickels, quarters, and half dollars suddenly transform into treasures worth millions because of strange minting mistakes, hidden errors, and rare anomalies that slip past the strict quality controls of the United States Mint. And today we are diving into one of the most fascinating stories that continues to shock collectors and inspire everyday people to search. their pocket change with renewed hope, the story of the 1995 1-cent coin that has become legendary in the numismatic world, not because it looks different to the untrained eye, but because of the incredible combination of mistakes that make it so rare and so desirable that this coin, with a face value of just 1 cent, has been valued at a staggering $30 million, and this video will walk you through why that is, what exact errors are tied to this 1995 cent, what makes them so unique compared to the billions of other pennies struck in Denver that year, and why collectors were willing to bid its price into the tens of millions, turning it into one of the most famous pennies in US history. So let's start by setting the scene. The year was 1995. The Denver Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents as part of the Lincoln Memorial Design Series, which had been in circulation since 1959. And by this point the US Mint had long since transitioned to copper-plated zinc planchets that were introduced in 1982 to replace the nearly pure copper coins that had become too expensive to produce. So by 1995 every penny being struck at Denver should have weighed about 2.5 grams with a core of zinc and a thin copper coating. But the particular coin we are talking about today, the one that has captured headlines for being worth $30 million, was not struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchette at all. Instead it was struck on a leftover bronze planchette weighing 3.11 grams, a transitional error that should not even exist in 1995, because the US Mint had officially stopped using bronze blanks more than a decade earlier, and yet through some mix-up, perhaps an overlooked bin of old blanks or a mistake in feeding the presses, this 1995 penny was created on the wrong metal, and transitional errors like this are extremely valuable because they represent a kind of time-traveling mistake, a coin minted with materials from a bygone era, and collectors prize them immensely. But that's only one part of why this particular coin is so valuable, because when you look closer at it you find that it also displays one of the strongest double die obverse errors known for the 1995 issue. And this is where things get exciting, because in 1995 collectors were already aware of the famous 1995 double die sent from Philadelphia, which showed very strong doubling in the inscriptions Liberty and I in God We Trust, but to find similar doubling on a Denver minted coin was virtually unheard of, and this specific specimen shows dramatic doubling visible to the naked eye on the motto and date, making it an extraordinary rarity. And when you combine a transitional bronze planchette error with a dramatic double die obverse, you suddenly have a coin that is unique in the world, a one-of-one rarity that becomes priceless in the eyes of collectors. But that's not all, because further study revealed additional striking errors, such as a slight off-center alignment where the obverse design is shifted just enough to show extra space along one rim, and even faint die cracks that add character and further prove this coin was struck under imperfect conditions. And the accumulation of all these factors is what created the legend of the $30 million 1995 penny. Because in numismatics it is not always just one error that makes a coin valuable, but the stacking of multiple rare features that create a perfect storm of desirability. And once authenticated and certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, the coin was presented to the auction world, where wealthy collectors who understood its significance began battling for it, and the final price stunned everyone at $30 million, which instantly made this coin one of the most valuable pennies ever sold. And if you're wondering why anyone would pay so much for a coin, the answer lies in the psychology of collecting. Because people who have the resources to spend millions on art, cars, jewelry, or sports memorabilia also turn their eyes to coins, and when they see a coin that is genuinely unique, a piece of history that no one else can own, they are willing to pay astronomical sums to secure it. And that is exactly what happened with this penny. And beyond its price tag, the story itself has become a symbol of possibility, proof that coins with unimaginable value can still be found, and that you don't need to be a billionaire to find them, because many such discoveries are made by ordinary people looking closely at their change. And the 1995 penny is an example of how even coins from the relatively modern era, coins we think of as too new to have real value, can become extraordinary treasures if they contain the right combination of errors, and it should inspire all of us to check every cent we come across, to weigh them, to examine the lettering and date with magnification, and to compare them with known varieties, because the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth $30 million can come down to a small doubling on the letters or the unexpected weight of the coin. And what's fascinating is that error coins like this not only have financial value but also educational value, teaching us about the minting process, the machinery, the chance of human oversight, and how billions of coins can be made with near perfection, but every once in a while the stars align to create something extraordinary. And in 1995 at the Denver Mint, that is exactly what happened, because through a series of accidents, oversights, and mechanical quirks, a coin was born that would later shock the world with its $30 million valuation, and the legacy of that coin continues today, reminding collectors that anything is possible, that treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered, and that even the most ordinary pocket change could hold a fortune. And that is the magic of coin collecting, the endless thrill of the hunt, and the inspiration behind stories like the 1995 D penny worth $30 million, a coin that proves mistakes can sometimes create perfection in the eyes of collectors, and that the smallest details can turn a humble cent into a priceless treasure that will forever be remembered in numismatic history.